Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you thought was your safe haven? The pain of betrayal can be devastating, shattering dreams and expectations you didn't even know you had. But what if I told you that, instead of sinking you, this betrayal could be the key to a surprising path of self-discovery? It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? The truth is that often the deepest pain pushes us towards our true selves. If you're struggling with the feeling that you've lost something precious, get ready to discover how this painful experience can actually lead you to a deeper and more transformative understanding of yourself. Stay with me and see how my love's betrayal opened doors to an unexpected path of personal growth.
Beatrice sat on the edge of the bed, her gaze fixed on the dark wooden floor that creaked with every movement. The summer heat in the city, where she had always lived, seemed suffocating, but nothing compared to the pain burning in her chest. Alex's betrayal, her literature professor and the man she thought was the love of her life, still echoed in her mind like a sad and repetitive song. The words he had said the last night, when everything fell apart, still haunted her. "I can't do this anymore. You're not what I expected." The phrase was etched in her memory, and every time she recalled it, a new wave of sadness hit her. How could he? How could someone who promised to love her betray her with a classmate? Beatrice felt the tears welling up in her eyes, but fought to keep them under control. She didn't want to cry over him anymore. With a deep sigh, Beatrice decided she needed time away from everything. A small coastal town in Florida seemed the perfect place to disconnect and try to find a new perspective. The thought of leaving everything behind intrigued and scared her at the same time. What if she couldn't recover? What if the pain followed her there? But the idea of staying in the city, surrounded by memories of Alex, was unbearable. "I'm going to do this," she murmured to herself, getting up to start packing her things. The movement helped her feel a bit more in control, something she seemed to have lost in recent months. As she opened the closet, she began selecting some clothes and essentials, each piece chosen a small victory against the sadness that enveloped her. As her hands moved mechanically, an object caught her attention. In the bottom corner of the shelf, a dusty journal awaited her. It was a gift she had received from her grandmother many years ago, a place where she could write down her thoughts, dreams, and desires. Hesitantly, Beatrice picked up the journal and blew off the accumulated dust. The cover was a faded blue, but it still displayed a shine that seemed to invite her to open its pages. She sat on the bed again, the journal now on her lap, and began to flip through the pages. There were her youthful musings, wishes that seemed so distant now. Among the notes, Beatrice found a passage that made her smile. "One day, I want to help children who need love and hope. I want to be a light in the darkness." That phrase was a reminder of who she really was before she let herself be carried away by the illusions of a relationship that disappointed her. "Maybe this is what I need," she thought, feeling a renewed wave of determination. The idea of helping others overcome their difficulties, just as she was trying to do with her own pain, seemed like a way forward. She lovingly put away the journal, deciding to reread those pages when she felt lost. After hours of packing, Beatrice finally finished her luggage. With a lighter heart, she took one last look at her room. The walls still echoed with laughter and happy moments, but now they also seemed crowded with painful memories she was ready to leave behind. When she arrived in the small coastal town in Florida, a gentle breeze greeted her, mixing the smell of the sea with the taste of freedom. The setting sun painted the sky orange and pink, a spectacle that made her take a deep breath and smile. However, her mind was still full of uncertainties. What awaited her in this new phase? What if she couldn't reconnect with her essence? These thoughts accompanied her as she drove through the quiet streets until she spotted a group of people gathered in a square. As she approached, she felt a warm welcome. The group of volunteers received her with open arms, all smiling and chatting animatedly. Among them, one young man stood out. Jake was charismatic, with a smile that lit up his face and eyes that seemed to shine with genuine kindness. When he looked at her, his smile widened even more. "Hi, you must be Beatrice. We're so happy you're here," Jake said, extending his hand. The touch was gentle, but the impact was immediate. Something about him made her feel that maybe she could find a new beginning. Even amid the lingering pain, there was a spark of hope that began to shine in her heart. Beatrice watched the group of volunteers with a mix of admiration and insecurity. The lively voices and laughter echoed through the courtyard of the house where they gathered, but she felt like a stranger amidst those warm interactions. Jake, the young man who had welcomed her with an open smile, was at the center of attention, organizing an activity for the youth. His eyes gleamed with enthusiasm, and Beatrice couldn't help but notice how natural he seemed in his role as a leader. "Are you okay?" Jake asked, approaching her with concern on his face. Beatrice forced a smile, but insecurity dominated her. "Oh, yes. Just observing," she replied, looking at the ground, avoiding his gaze. "Sometimes it's good to dive right in. Have you thought about joining the activity? The kids will love you," he suggested, with an encouraging tone. "I'm not sure. I'm not that good with teenagers," Beatrice replied, her hesitant voice betraying her lack of confidence. "Everyone starts somewhere, and you might surprise yourself," Jake insisted, a motivational gleam in his eyes. "I'll be there to help you." She took a deep breath, pondering his words. The invitation was tempting, but the memories of Alex's betrayal still haunted her, making her hesitate. What if I can't do it? What if they don't like me? What if you shine? Sometimes, the fear of failing stops us from trying. "Come on, we'll do it together," Jake offered with a smile that seemed to brighten the room. Challenging her insecurities, Beatrice finally agreed. "Okay, I'll give it a try." The response made her heart race, not just because of the challenge, but because of Jake's encouraging presence. As they approached the youth, Beatrice felt butterflies in her stomach. The room was full of teenagers who watched her with curious eyes. Jake stood by her side and began explaining the activity, involving the youth in a group dynamic. Beatrice, although nervous, was impressed by the way he communicated with them, cracking jokes and creating a welcoming environment. "Now, who here thinks Beatrice can be a great addition to our team?" Jake asked, looking directly at the youth. Beatrice felt warmth rise in her cheeks as the gazes turned to her. Some teenagers nodded, and one of them, a boy with tousled hair, shouted, "I vote for Beatrice. She seems cool." Laughing nervously, Beatrice felt a bit more at ease. "Thank you, but I'm not that cool. I'm just trying to figure out how to help." "And you're already helping just by being here," Jake said, with a look that made her feel seen. The confidence he radiated began to penetrate her own insecurities. As the activity progressed, Beatrice started to interact with the youth. They were full of energy and stories, and surprisingly, she began to feel useful. The conversations drew her in, and she realized that her experiences could be a bridge to connect with them. The feeling of being valued and useful was new, and with each laugh exchanged, the pain of betrayal began to feel a little more distant. After the activity, as the youth dispersed, Jake approached Beatrice again. "Did you see how they reacted to you? You were amazing in there." Beatrice smiled, a bit more confident. "It was fun, actually. I didn't expect to feel like this." "This is just the beginning. You have so much to offer, Beatrice. Don't forget that," he said, his eyes conveying a sincerity that deeply touched her. For a moment, Beatrice was lost in the intensity of Jake's gaze. He was everything she didn't know she needed. But amid that new connection, a shadow of doubt returned to haunt her. Could she really trust again? Alex's betrayal was still fresh in her mind, and the idea of opening her heart to someone else seemed terrifying. "Thank you, Jake. I really appreciate your support," she finally said, trying to hide the confusion she felt. "We're in this together. Whenever you need, I'll be here," he replied, placing a friendly hand on her shoulder, making her heart race. The connection between them was growing, but Beatrice knew that behind every laugh and interaction, there was a wall she still needed to break down. And for now, she was determined to figure out how to overcome her insecurities before allowing herself to dive into a new love. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, when Beatrice and Jake met on the porch of the volunteer house. The gentle sound of waves breaking on the beach in the background provided a welcoming environment, ideal for the conversation that was approaching. Beatrice, still recovering from Alex's betrayal, felt a mix of anxiety and expectation. After a few weeks of getting to know Jake, she finally felt ready to open her heart. Jake, with his warm smile and gentle gaze, was sitting on one of the wooden benches, watching the horizon. He sensed Beatrice's internal struggle, but knew it was essential to give her space to feel comfortable. When she approached, he greeted her with a nod and a smile, which seemed to brighten the surroundings. "Hi, Beatrice. You look beautiful today," he said, breaking the silence. She blushed, an involuntary gesture that didn't go unnoticed by Jake. "Thank you, Jake. I wanted to talk about something I've been keeping inside," Beatrice replied, hesitantly. "Whatever you want, I'm here to listen," he encouraged, his tone of voice soft and welcoming. She took a deep breath, trying to gather courage. "It's about what happened, about Alex. I still feel so lost, like I don't know who to trust anymore." Jake leaned forward, showing genuine interest. "If you feel comfortable, you can tell me what happened. Sometimes sharing helps lighten the load." Beatrice closed her eyes for a moment, recalling the pain of betrayal. "I thought I had found someone who really loved me. Alex was everything I dreamed of, a romantic who made me feel special. And then, well, he betrayed me." Her voice faltered, and she felt the tears forming, but she quickly made an effort to control herself. "I'm sorry, Beatrice. No one deserves to go through that." Jake seemed genuinely sad for her pain. "But you're a strong woman. You're here, trying to rebuild yourself and help others. That's admirable." "Thank you, Jake. I don't want to be stuck in this cycle of distrust. Sometimes I feel like I can open up, but then the insecurity comes back and paralyzes me." She looked into his eyes, seeking understanding. "It's normal to feel that way. Trust is something that builds over time, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm here for you, and I want you to know that I'm not Alex. I'm just Jake, and I want to support you." The sincerity in his words touched Beatrice in a way she didn't expect. She smiled, a shy but genuine smile. "That means a lot to me. I really appreciate your patience and understanding." The silence between them was filled with the sea breeze, as Beatrice felt the walls she had built around herself begin to crumble, even if slowly. She realized that Jake was not a threat, but an opportunity for a fresh start. However, even as they talked, a shadow of insecurity still hovered over Beatrice. She knew she needed to overcome her fears, but the internal struggle still consumed her. "What if I open up to you and end up getting hurt again? How can I be sure this won't be another betrayal?" Jake looked at her seriously. "Life is full of uncertainties, Beatrice. No one can promise that there will never be pain, but we can choose to allow ourselves to love again, even when we're afraid. I'm not perfect, and neither are you, but we can be honest with each other. I promise I will always be sincere with you." His words resonated in her heart. Beatrice realized that although the past still haunted her, Jake represented a new chance, a light amidst the darkness. "I want to try, Jake. I want to try to trust again. But I need time," she said, feeling a new determination sprout within her. "And I'll be here waiting, Beatrice, however long you need." He smiled again, and this time she returned the smile with more confidence. The atmosphere seemed lighter, and Beatrice felt a comforting warmth spread through her body. As they talked, the fears and insecurities began to dissipate, even if temporarily. She knew the path to healing wouldn't be easy, but with Jake by her side, she felt she could face any challenge life threw her way. Later, at a community event, Beatrice found herself in the spotlight, praised for her dedication to working with the youth. The excitement and pride were palpable, but the memory of Alex still lingered in her heart. The opportunity that had arisen could be the key to her future, but the past, as always, was lurking, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Beatrice was sitting at the small wooden table in the shared kitchen of the house where she lived with the volunteers, her gaze lost on her phone screen. Alex's message made her feel a mix of anger and confusion as the words, "I'm sorry, Beatrice, I want to meet and talk," echoed in her mind. She had tried so hard to leave behind the pain of betrayal, and now that message seemed like a shadow, threatening to destabilize all the progress she had made. Jake entered the kitchen, bringing with him the aroma of fresh coffee. He noticed Beatrice's expression, distant and pensive. "Are you okay?" he asked, leaning in slightly to see the phone screen. "It looks like you've seen a ghost." Beatrice took a deep breath, trying to find the words. "It's just a message from an old acquaintance," she replied, avoiding looking him in the eye. The truth was that Jake was more than just an acquaintance. He was someone she had begun to care about deeply, but the idea of opening her heart again terrified her. Jake sat down beside her. "Look, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but know that I'm here if you need to talk. You know you can trust me." He smiled, a smile that always brought a bit of light into her dark days. Beatrice felt a pang in her heart. Jake was so kind and understanding, and she didn't want him to feel bad because of Alex. "I just don't want to talk about it. I'm trying to move on," she said, but her voice trembled slightly. "Moving on is important, but it's not easy," Jake replied, watching her closely. "Sometimes we need to face what hurts us to truly move on." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting an internal struggle. "What if I don't know how to do that? What if I end up getting hurt again?" Jake gazed at her, his deep blue eyes filled with empathy. "Beatrice, you've already faced so much. You're stronger than you think, and if you fall, I'll be here to help you up." His words touched her deeply, but Alex's message still haunted her. "I just don't know if I can deal with this right now," she murmured, her voice almost a whisper. "I don't want the past to define me." Jake nodded, understanding. "And it won't. You're reinventing yourself here. Every day is a new chance." He took her hand and held it firmly. "Don't let him have that power over you." His touch was a balm, but Beatrice still felt torn. What did Alex want? He had apologized so many times before, but had never changed. However, the idea of confronting her past paralyzed her. Later, as she prepared to leave and meet the youth she was helping, Beatrice decided she needed a moment for herself. She went out to the house's courtyard, where the sun was beginning to set, coloring the sky in shades of orange and pink. She took a deep breath, trying to find clarity. At that moment of reflection, one of the young girls she worked with, Maria, approached. "Hi, Beatrice. You look a bit distant. What's going on?" she asked, with a curious and sincere look. Beatrice hesitated, but Maria's authenticity encouraged her to open up a bit. "I'm just dealing with some things from the past," she replied, trying to keep her words light. Maria frowned, her expression of concern turning into understanding. "You know, sometimes we need to let go of things that hurt us so we can shine. I learned that the hard way." The young girl's words impacted her. "How did you do it?" Beatrice asked, genuinely interested. "I realized I can't let other people decide my worth. I am who I choose to be, and that's what really matters," Maria explained, the determination in her voice resonating deeply with Beatrice. "You're strong, Maria. It's inspiring to hear that from you." Beatrice smiled, feeling a bit lighter. The conversation made her reflect on her own strength and what she truly wanted. "You're strong too, Beatrice. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise," Maria said, winking. "Now, let's go help those kids have some fun. They need you." Beatrice nodded, feeling invigorated by the conversation. She was ready to face whatever came her way, whether it included the past or not. The sun shone brightly in the small coastal town, and at that moment, Beatrice decided that her light would not be overshadowed by shadows of the past. Beatrice walked along the beach at dawn, her footsteps in the wet sand quickly fading with the rising tide. The sun had not yet fully broken the horizon, casting a soft light that reflected on the waves. She had distanced herself from Jake, a decision that weighed on her heart but felt necessary. What should have been a moment of self-care and self-discovery had become an emotional battlefield. "I just need some time for myself," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. The memory of Jake's confused and sad expression was still vivid in her mind. He had always been so understanding, so welcoming, but Alex's betrayal still haunted her like a shadow that wouldn't leave her alone. The simple thought of a new relationship terrified her. As she walked, Beatrice spotted a group of young people playing volleyball on the sand. It was an activity that used to cheer her up, but now it seemed distant, as if it wasn't part of her reality. She hesitated, but the idea of taking refuge in volunteer work was appealing. There, with those young people, she felt part of something bigger, something that helped her heal her wounds. It was a reminder that her life still had meaning. The next day, during one of the volunteer activities, Beatrice met one of the girls in the group, Laura, who had become one of her protégés. Laura had a radiant smile, but her eyes carried a deep sadness that life had imposed on her. "You look different, Baya. What happened?" The question came directly, and Beatrice felt a knot form in her throat. I'm just trying to understand some things about myself, Beatrice replied, trying to divert the focus. And you? How are things at school? It's okay, but sometimes I feel so lost, like I don't know what to do with my life, Laura said, biting her lower lip. Beatrice felt an immediate connection with the girl and decided it was time to share some of her own vulnerability. Look, I feel lost sometimes too. Recently, I went through a difficult situation. A relationship that didn't work out and left me insecure, Beatrice revealed, her gaze fixed on the sand as if seeking answers there. But I learned that it's important to value yourself and not be swayed by others' doubts. You're stronger than you think. Laura looked at her with gratitude. Thank you, Bea. You always know what to say. Sometimes I feel so alone, and it's good to know I'm not alone. The conversation flowed, and Beatrice felt warmth in her heart. The connection she had established with the youth was helping her rediscover her own strength. She realized that even while facing her demons, she had the ability to positively impact someone's life. This reflection brought new meaning to her work. That night, as she prepared for bed, Beatrice received a text message from Jake. The phone screen lit up her dark room, and she hesitated before opening it. Hi, Bea. I hope you're okay. I miss you and would love to talk. You know I'm here for you. She remained silent, his words echoing in her mind. Jake had always been so patient, so kind, but she still wasn't ready to face the truth about her feelings. What was happening in her heart was an internal battle between the desire to connect and the fear of getting hurt again. Maybe I need more time, she thought. However, in the days that followed, while she dedicated herself to volunteer work, a tragic event occurred. One of the young people Beatrice had helped, a boy named Lucas, was involved in an incident at school. He had faced bullying problems, and in a moment of despair, he made a decision that shook everyone. Beatrice received the news while she was in a meeting with the other volunteers. The air became heavy, and she felt her heart race. He couldn't have done that, she thought, her stomach turning. I should have seen the signs. As the reality of the incident set in, Beatrice realized the impact her presence had had on Lucas's life. He had always been shy, but she had tried to encourage him to open up, to share his concerns. Now, she wondered if her words had been enough. You can't blame yourself, Beatrice, one of the volunteers said, noticing her despair. You did the best you could, and your presence made a difference. Lucas knew you cared. But at that moment, Beatrice couldn't see that. The weight of responsibility made her feel powerless. She decided she needed to act, not just for Lucas, but for all the young people around her. I need to do more, she whispered to herself as determination began to form in her heart. She didn't know what the future held, but she was willing to fight. The sun was slowly setting on the horizon, painting the sky a deep orange and gold, when Beatrice decided it was time to confront Alex. The incident with the young man had shocked her deeply, and she realized she needed closure. The pain his betrayal had caused still echoed in her chest, but now it was accompanied by a new strength, the strength she had found in herself by helping others. With a racing heart, Beatrice prepared for the meeting. She put on a simple blouse and jeans that made her feel comfortable, but at the same time determined. When she arrived at the cafe where Alex usually met with friends, she spotted him at a table in the back, laughing and chatting animatedly. The image made her feel a lump in her throat. There he was, so carefree, while she was still struggling with the shadows of the past. When Alex saw her, his smile faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. Beatrice, what a surprise, he exclaimed, standing up to greet her. Hi, Alex, she replied, her voice firm but with a slight tremor. We need to talk. He invited her to sit, and after a brief hesitation, Beatrice sat down. The room was filled with laughter and voices, but everything seemed distant. You look different, he commented, trying to break the ice. You seem more confident. I am different, Beatrice said, looking directly into his eyes. I'm not the same girl you betrayed. Alex frowned, as if trying to understand what she was saying. Look, I know I made a mistake, but... Mistake? That's an understatement, Beatrice interrupted, her voice rising a bit. I trusted you, Alex. I opened up, and you simply destroyed me. And now I saw you with your old classmate, as if nothing had happened. That seemed to hit him. Beatrice, I was just trying to find myself again. You know how college life is, full of pressures. Pressures? She smiled, a bitter smile. You simply traded what we had for a silly adventure. What I feel now is what should have been a healthy relationship, but you weren't ready for that. He leaned forward, his tone shifting to an attempt at manipulation. Beatrice, you have to understand that everyone makes mistakes. I can change. I want to change. We can go back to how we were before. No, Alex, you haven't understood anything. This isn't about going back. It's about moving forward. I don't want to be your option or your second choice anymore, and honestly, I don't want anything from you. Those words seemed to punch him in the gut. She stood up, feeling adrenaline coursing through her veins. I'm not the same girl you knew. I've rediscovered myself, and now I'm living a true love, someone who respects and values me. Jake, huh? Alex said with a sarcastic tone. He won't stay with you forever. Maybe not, but he's with me now, and that's all that matters. Beatrice turned and started to walk away, but before leaving, she glanced over her shoulder. And you know what? Your betrayal didn't define me. I'm much stronger than you think. As she walked out of the cafe, the feeling of relief enveloped her. The weight she had been carrying seemed to have significantly lightened. When she met Jake at the beach, his smile made her feel that everything was worth it. He was there, supporting her as always. Are you okay? He asked, concerned. I'm better than ever, Beatrice replied, wrapping her arms around him. I finally left the past behind. Jake smiled, and she felt as if the world around them had shrunk. You know I'll always be here for you, don't you? Yes, Beatrice whispered as she looked out at the sea. And now I'm ready to embrace this love, this life. She realized at that moment that true love wasn't just about being with someone, but about loving yourself first. And so, with the certainty that everything was finally falling into place, Beatrice left the past behind and opened herself to a future full of possibilities. Betrayal can be devastating, but it's also an invitation to personal transformation. Have you ever reflected on how your own difficult experiences could be an opportunity to discover something new about yourself? Sometimes, it's in the darkest hours that we find the strength and clarity we need to grow and change. What have you learned about yourself through your struggles and challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments and go ahead and click on the video that's appearing on your screen now. This is, in my opinion, one of the best stories I've ever told. And if you liked the one you just heard, you'll definitely love this other story as well. So subscribe to the channel, click on the video on your screen now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.